Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, today we are joined by a very, very special guest indeed. You may know her best as Marie from the amazing Hell Hath No Fury. And coming up this month, exactly on the 17th of February, you'll also get to know her as Anna in the movie Cold Meat. Today we are joined by Nina Bergman. Nina, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic.
That's brilliant to hear. So I'm very excited about this interview. I'm really interested to kind of get to know a bit about your personal life and how you kind of started in the industry. And of course, we're going to have to talk about your upcoming movie coming up this month. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. Thank you for joining us.
This is my pleasure.
So just before we kind of talk about your movies, I really like to start the interviews with the guests getting to know a bit about you personally. So if you could kind of tell us, how did you first start getting involved with acting?
Ooh, I was one of those kids that just knew I was going to perform at like 4 years old. I was one of those. I had grandparents, very famous Russian grandparents that was in the entertainment business. So I would be with my grandmother on stage when I was 4, and then I started performing. I was a ballerina at like 5 years old. So I've always been performing, and then I had my first little TV show when I was 7. My dad worked for a TV station and later became a professor at the Danish Film School. So I was just a performer. I didn't know anything else, and I don't have any other talents. So it was just, I just knew from a very young age that I had to express myself, and in any art form. It could be dance, singing, um, acting was the one that felt most expressive to me.
Wow. So
Yeah.
obviously I know you've done a lot of you've done some music as well. And I know you're kind
Yeah.
of involved in that part of the
Yeah.
industry. Have you ever done any stage or theatre work before?
Oh yeah, that's how I started. That's my favorite. The stage is my favorite. I did the Cherry Orchard, Chekhov. My grandfather was the original cast member in the Cherry Orchard, that Chekhov wrote. So I wanted to do that. And I have played Marlene Dietrich in Greta Garbo's Cuban Lover. I've done so many plays. I've played, Jesus, I don't even remember. I've done so many. It's my passion, but you know, it's, it's a lot of work for not a lot of money and for just a very few eyeballs. So, I had to branch out.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And that's very much a common theme with these interviews as I kind of do more and more. I kind of find that a lot more. People that only stay in the industry is just purely out of the love for it, but it doesn't
Mhm.
always sort of help out with your personal life as well.
Very true. I mean, it's very hard to sustain a career in the theater. So and it is, it's, 7, 8 shows a week, and it's the same character. Where in movies, I feel like it's a little more diverse. But again, the theater is my favorite. If I could, I would just do theater.
So when you kind of first started in the industry, did you ever have, I know actors, big part of your job is staying completely diverse and varied. So did you ever go into the industry having an idea of really wanting to do a particular role or a particular genre? Was there anything in particular you really wanted to try out?
Oh yeah. I when I first started, I had to go to school because I had a very thick accent. So I got into NYU and I went to school to get, to learn the craft and get the respect and, have that on my resume. And I wanted to be Meryl Streep. But what I learned was I'm not Meryl Streep. And the parts that I shine in and that I get cast in is, the more like the badass parts or the girl with a twist. I'm not going to play the girl next door. I'm not going to play these parts that I wanted to play. I get to play the cool parts, and it took me a little while to embrace it. And now I love it. Now in the new movie I have coming up, I get to do a little more of the acting that I wanted to do. She's still badass, but I get to show another side that I don't get to show a lot because you get typecast very fast in this town.
Yeah.
You're good at something, and if there's not a lot of us that do this, play badass convincingly, then, you just keep getting cast as that part.
Yeah, do you know it's funny? Just before this interview started, if you search your name on YouTube, there's a couple of like training montages of you, doing boxing and athletics, and
Yeah.
you are such an incredible athlete. Is that catered more to because of you being typecasted, or is that just something you have a passion for as well?
Well, I was a ballerina starting at 4, and then went to the hardest schools in the world, the Bolshoi Theater, and it's like becoming a Navy SEAL. It's like basically the same training. And then I became an amateur boxer to help pay for college, doing fights that I actually got paid for. And so I just I just I'm an adrenaline junkie. I like to see how far I can go. I like to do the extreme. I just I sang in a rock band. I like things hard.
One
Like
of
I
the things
party
that
hard. I do everything full out.
one of the things that I really love about kind of getting to talk to you, and as I've kind of done some research on you, you really do love to try different things. And for somebody who's kind of working in an industry that is so demanding in itself, you've done so many different things at such an age. It's incredible.
Thank you. I started very young. I left home when I was very young, and I went to my first school when I was 14 in London. So I started really young, because again, I knew what I wanted. So that sometimes it takes a while for people to learn what they want, but I always knew.
Awesome. So we're gonna dive into uh a big sort of, in my opinion, I think one of my favorite to date, because obviously you've got a lot of work coming out. So to date, one of my favorite roles I've seen you in is Marie in Hell Hath No Fury. I'm sure you
Mhm.
must hear that quite a lot because the words can't describe, if you haven't seen the movie, you have to go see the movie because words can't describe the performance that you give in such a challenging role and such a challenging theme to the movie. Um, so we will talk about that a little bit, but I think first it feels right to talk about your upcoming projects because I know people that are listening are going to need to be refreshed, revitalized about some of the work coming out. So on the 20th, no, the 17th of February, I must get those dates correct. 17th of February, you have your movie coming out called Cold Meat, where you play Anna.
Yes.
Um, so obviously the movie got aired at Fright Fest 2013. Um, so for people that haven't seen it, and obviously I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't watched it yet, are there things that you can tell us about the movie that we can kind of expect from your character?
Yes. It's me and another actor named Alan Leach from Downton Abbey, and he's done a lot of wonderful films and TV shows. So it's a two people movie. It's like it's on us a lot, and it feels a little bit like a play. But the way the director directed is a French director who started in special effects. So it's the way he did is very interesting. It's a psychological thriller, is how I would put it. You are not going to guess at all what's going to happen. It's one of those. And it has some mysticalness to it. And for me, it was such an interesting character because I play a regular girl, which I don't get to play a lot, but she has to find her inner strength. She's getting tested. And it's one of the most challenging roles I have played. And my co-star is just so good. He's just so good. So it was so great to work with someone. You're only as good as your surroundings. So when you get to work with a wonderful actor like that, and it's just very well written. It's a very interesting story, and it's based on two real characters. The director put, whoa, wow, I got balloons.
Hey,
Yay, I don't know how that happened,
I
but
have no idea.
it's based on two characters um, that he kind of spliced together as one. And a lot of the things that you see in the movie actually happen. And that I find almost to be the scariest parts of it all. And we shot it in Canada, in the coldest parts of Canada. So like the atmosphere and the scenery and the cold is almost like a character in the movie.
Mm.
And it's just I just saw it and I was just like, wow, I thought the director did a fantastic job. I forgot I was in it. Like I got so scared watching it at some point. Yeah, yeah, I got sucked in. I forgot I was actually the one playing the character. Yeah, so that I thought I'm very proud of this one, and I can't wait for people to see it. And if you're into those kind of psychological thrillers, and if you like these clever movies, um and you like to be surprised in movies. I don't like movies when I already know how it's going to end. Yeah. So that's why I didn't want to give too much away because he did such a good job, the director, at not giving things away. I thought so. You experience it as the movie goes on, but no, I'm very proud of that. And again, my co-star is just he's scary. He's a nice guy on the planet, but he's yeah, he's good. Yes.
That's amazing. So obviously when you watch the trailer and you kind of get the feel of the movie, of course you have the psychological thriller aspect, and the suspense. You can kind of feel the suspense just through the trailer, which I thought they did a really good job doing. But as you said, you just get this feeling of cold. And how did you find any challenges during filming or maybe even offset? Did you find that kind of a challenge to play in those kind of conditions?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was so cold I couldn't even move my face. I couldn't make any expressions. I was frozen, and I play a waitress, and I was supposed to wear like a waitress kind of little dress with stockings, but I couldn't because the stockings would freeze into my skin.
Oh,
There was like a lot of challenges like that. And so that was the one challenge. And then we on a sound stage, in a warm sound stage, the other half of the movie, which was even more challenging for me because I like, I'm method all the way. So I was like, open all the windows, like, let's go, make it. I had to go out and roll around in the snow, to like get into the cold. Yeah. So because it's such a character of the movie. Um, so both of them I found challenging, but that's, part of the fun, right?
yeah. So I know you said you're playing kind of a normal
Yeah.
woman that has to find her inner strength, which is like as you said, and I feel when you watch kind of back in your career, it's a little bit different to the characters you normally play. Do we get to see any stunts or do we get to see any sort of the traditional Nina that we see in your other movies?
No, her strength is very different. As I said, I'm a single mom. I live with my mom. I just work in a small town. I'm a waiter in some tiny little diner, and I don't have the strength. My character didn't does not have the strength as some of my other characters have, and she doesn't have the physical strength that I have. So she has to um go different places than where I go, I guess, to find her strength. Um, which was very interesting for me because, the same with Marie, she's not physically strong either, stronger than this character, but it's it's a different kind of it, yeah, it was very it messed with me playing it, I have to say. It messed with me because I felt so powerless, and I felt all the things that I hate feeling as a human being, and I got to feel it. So it messed with me a little bit. Yeah, it took me a couple of months to like shake her off because she was
Wow.
such a victim. Yeah, so that was hard to play. I mean, I know what it feels like to be a victim, and that's why I think I do the parts that I do. When things happen we are shaped by our past. And I think I was one of
Mm,
those, had a very tough past. So I became who I am today because I did not want to repeat my past. So it was very hard for me to go back to feeling that, she's a victim.
mm.
It was hard.
Do you feel that that's because obviously, as you sort of mentioned, that you're very much a method actor? do you feel that because you get that engrossed in a character that that's why you feel it affects you post movie and post filming, and do you feel like it's your style of acting is why it affects you afterwards?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I watched my co-star, and he's such a veteran. I don't know how he does it. And he's like joking around and said they're playing music, and then he jumps into the scene. And I'm one of those that have to turn off the music on set and make it cold, and and I have to somewhat stay in my bubble the whole time. I've never hung out with anyone, or and it's I don't know, it's a very lonely process. I wish I knew how to do that, jumping back and forth. I just can't fathom how to do that. I don't know, like once I'm out, it takes me a while to get back in because I don't really like to be in her shoes, to be completely honest. It's I don't like to, you know, yeah, it's I feel like I'm going back to who I used to be,
Mm.
which is, she's, as I said, she's just a normal girl. She has, she's a victim of her circumstances, and she has a very mundane, simple, a little sad life, if you ask me. So it takes a lot for me to stay in it. I can't jump in and out. Like I'm the one that sit at home every evening by myself in the hotel, and everyone else is out like drinking, having fun, making new friends. I just can't do it.
No, I understand that. Again, it's some people just are that embedded in their roles that that's how they find it copes for them best. Um,
Yeah.
so as you mentioned, it was aired at Fright Fest in 2013.
Yes.
Um, did you get a any reports back of the general feelings from the people watching about how they kind of felt about the movie?
Yeah, we got raving reviews. People loved it. And I hadn't seen the movie at the time, so I was like, yeah. People loved it. The response were amazing. Really positive feedback. Um, so yeah, people, so far, really took to it. And again, what the director did when I first read the script, I was like, how the hell is he gonna do this? Like, this is insane what he's trying to do. And even when we started rehearsing, I was like, how am I gonna do this? Because it's just two actors and it's confined space. I was like, how's this gonna work? But I just was like, Nina, you just gotta trust. I trust the director. I trust my co-star. I trusted, and I was very happily, surprised. I knew it was going to be good, but yeah, I think it's special. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those. I'm hoping it's going to be one of those that will just keep finding its audience, and it's going to have, people that are into those movies. I think they're really going to enjoy it because it's very well done.
Yeah, absolutely. It as doing my research before, I've seen a lot of people give it very good reviews. And something that I get a feeling with this movie, as you said, it being special.
Mhm.
I don't know kind of really how it is in the States. I kind of know the UK thriller, horror. I suppose not really. It's horror, thriller mainly. That kind of the critics in the UK can be very, very ruthless and very harsh. And this movie has had very, very good reviews and positive feedback from these critics. So that's something that's really perked my interest and really got me excited for the movie was if it's sort of past their criteria, then like there must be something special about this movie.
I think there is, and I think it's credit to the director. He's French, and those French people, they just have that excellent taste. It's not something that I think that can be taught. There's nothing cheesy about it. It's like an art piece. It's like he created like this art. It's like you're watching a live art piece. All the shots and the way he shot it and the music and the way he put it together. I mean, he did just such a spectacular job. So I think that's what a lot of people are gravitating to when they watch it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said before, Cold Meat will be released to the worldwide audience, which is very special for the UK fans as well, because we don't really get acknowledged in these movies. So I love that. It'll be released on the 17th of February on Kino Studios, where they'll be running live from 8 p.m. British time and around 12 p.m. Pacific time, which is running from the 17th is live, and then the 18th to the 24th of February is when it'll be sort of live for anyone to watch. And something that I think's really special about this, as we kind of touched off topic, is there is a live Q&A session after the movie with a lot of the cast. So will you be there, Nina, for the Q&A session?
I definitely will. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what people think and answer questions. I'm very curious, it's like the little baby you've been, you know, growing. So I'm very interested to see what people have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so people get a kind of they better get their questions pre-prepared. So that's
Yes.
the 17th of February on Kino Studio's website. I'll link it down in the top of the description so anyone can kind of click the link and go straight to the movie. Make sure you kind of join that because I think it's going to be very special.
Yes. Yes, and both of us are going to be there. Ellen and I are going to be there.
Awesome, that's amazing. Nina, I would really like to briefly get to chat to you about Hell Hath No Fury. Um,
Mm.
as we kind of touched a little bit kind of earlier on in the interview, um, for me, I just feel like your performance in this movie was very special. It's a very, very challenging movie to watch when you understand that it's not all completely fictional, and you play such a difficult character, and yet you do it so what to me and as a viewer seems so effortless. Um, could you give us a little bit of insight into what you had to do to kind of get in that mindset and what you did to kind of give the performance that you did?
Yes, I'm a research holic. Like I research like crazy. And growing up in Denmark and Europe, I think it's part of our education, what happened during the Holocaust. So I
Yeah,
already knew a lot, but it was very difficult, especially the women that the movie's based on. It was very difficult to get information because a lot of people that went through it don't want to talk about it.
yeah,
So I tried to get as much information as I could. My director, Jesse Johnson, was very helpful. And then I worked on the physical part. I did not have a lot of time to prepare. So I worked on the physical part because I wanted her to look like a stray dog because um, the concentration camp she went to, the women worked a lot. So I wanted her to look starved, but kind of shredded, like a stray dog. They're like you can see their muscles, but they're real
mm,
big, but they're malnourished. And for me, I just would watch. I demanded I was got a place right next to set, so I was right there. And then I would just even doing filming. I mean, I would just go home and watch all these videos, print out certain images of these women, and I just tried to honor their stories as much as I could because remember this was what was happening. These women. I played a French resistance fighter that would go to the Nazis and gather information. So I pretend to be in love with them, to gather information. And that's what they did. And they were unsung heroes. So I try to
mhm.
honor it. And I just tried to go as far as I possibly could. I mean, knowing that I'll never know what it's like. I probably didn't even scratch the surface, but I went as far as I possibly could. I wanted everything as authentic as I could to like even the cutters, how, I didn't want the I wanted the cutters that they used, they almost like ripped their hair out. I wanted my head shaves too. I wanted to just again method all the way, right? Try to do as much as I could to honor these women that went through this. And yeah, that was a very special one to me. And then on top of it, I had to learn French and do a French accent. So that was that was challenging. But yeah, that one was very, very special, and that was a very hard movie on the soul to make.
It's as you said, I definitely feel over in Europe we I think naturally we do learn a lot about sort of the Holocaust and the a lot of the stuff that happened over here, and I'm not totally sure about the other kind of sides of the world. Um, so I guess when you kind of understand that these are based upon real events, to me it just hits completely differently to any other movie. And this is why I feel like for me your performance in it was so unbelievable because it was believable. And I think when you talk about the effort that you put in and how much respect you wanted to portray, as you said, these unsung heroes, I think that goes to show that you know the message that you kind of gave out with your performance was definitely received by people for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I tried. I gave it all I had.
Whilst you're on a set and you're filming a movie like this, what's the kind of, I know you're very much into method, so I know you would very much have your routines and your mindsets and your structure, but do you kind of remember how it was for you daily on set?
Yeah, it was very, again, lonely because, I show up, I don't chit chat, I sit by myself. It was super hot. It was during the pandemic, so it was a closed set. And I would bring my ropes, my workout ropes. I would do push-ups on the rock. I would just, again, be in my trailer, stay in my bubble, and rehearse with all the actors that wanted to rehearse. I was very lucky on that movie. I worked with great actors too. Timothy V. Murphy, from the Actor Studio, Louis Mandylor, Daniel Bernhardt, and they were all like me because I think it was during the pandemic. Everyone was doing it for the love of acting in the movie. So everyone was willing to rehearse and really go that extra mile. So it almost felt again like we were doing a play and we were just, you know, playing and having fun and
Mm.
rehearsing, and everyone on set was very respectful. I thought there was a very respectful set. Like people just kind of gave me the space, that could obviously tell that I needed just to sit in a corner most of the time and work out and do my thing. And then I picked my own makeup person. It was very important to me to have my own makeup person that could understand um and give me the space and kind of hold space for me to do my things. And because many times when you're on set they play music in the trailer, and while where I was like, I couldn't, I had to have quiet and I needed my space to get back into her and stay in her every day. As I said, I fall asleep every night crying, watching. I would only sleep a few hours every night and just watching all these. I can't even think about it. The director chose not to put any of it in Ravensbrück, where she was at the concentration camp. It's the worst one. And the things that they did to people there and these women is just unfathomable. I mean, it's like I don't even understand how human beings can think that up. So it was you know, it was yeah, like there was a couple of times I was like, it's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah,
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself? Like, why? You could have a beautiful life and you could like be doing something normal, and instead you're like torturing yourself. But I don't know. As I said, it feels like when people always say, "Ah, should I act or should I be in the business?" And I was like, I don't have a choice. Like, if you have a choice, don't. For me, I don't have a choice. I just get sucked in. I quit every other day and then I get sucked back in.
yeah. You know,
Yeah.
when as somebody that I don't have experience in the industry. My experience is doing these. It's just getting to sit down and talk to people in the
Yeah.
industry. And I don't know if you get told this quite often, but it's so rare to sit down and speak to somebody like yourself who gets so invested and so into the character that, as you said, it doesn't become a choice. And I feel for me like this is why I feel you definitely deserve your credits and your merits for the work you do, because just sitting here having this conversation, I can get that feeling how much you care about every work that you do. So I kind of just really want to thank you for the work that you've done and you've put in because it's really appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying. I don't know how to do it any other way, you know?
Mhm.
So, you know, they say how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah. If I can't give it my all, I don't want to do it.
yeah. And that's so refreshing to hear. As again, somebody who's interviewed people who all different types of people, people that have worked in the industry 50 years, that have kind of given it their everything, people that kind of just stumbled into the industry, and people that I won't say take for granted, but people that um, aren't as invested in a character, will say, as you get. Um, and I think people like you, this needs to be highlighted more, I think the work you do and you put in needs to be highlighted more for sure.
Well, thank you.
So again, as I said before in your previous one, you're very much known for your physical attributes and stunts. Um, it's not this again. I guess as you mentioned with Cold Meat, this isn't really a movie where we get to see that from you, but we see there's a lot of, I guess, physical torment that Marie experiences. Um, did you kind of perform your own stunts in that one, and how did you find the contrast in doing them?
In Hell Hath No Fury?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was very tricky because I'm wearing a slip. And normally
Mm,
when you do stunts, you have like knee pads, hip pads, so I was completely banged up. There's like a scene I'm on a grave and I'm making out with my SS officer, and he's like grabs me and my butt was completely shredded because he like pulled me on I was blue purple because you can't have any pads, so it felt everything in that movie felt very real.
yeah.
Like, all of the bruises and cuts, and they were not makeup. And they were real. It was one of those, and somehow it all helped. It all um yeah, it all worked. It all helped me with the part. Yeah. So it was normally when I do all of the stunt parts, like in the bigger, like I did the Doom movie. You have your
Mm,
stand-in, you're all padded up, you're all protected, you rehearse, you have all the time to rehearse, and you have a whole team. But because it was during COVID, we didn't have the whole team, and there was nowhere to put any of the pads because I'm just wearing that slip. So it was kind of like just deal with it. Yeah. And so yeah, it felt very real. It was a very real experience for me, that one.
I can imagine for sure.
Yeah.
So once filming was wrapped up, and not necessarily movies being produced, but once your job's finished, and then you step back into Nina and back into your life, how was that transition? Was it kind of just very much switched off and back, or did it take a while to get back into yourself again? And how was the transition back for you?
Well, after we wrapped, they realized they wanted to do some pickup shoots, the end scene. So I had to keep my head shaved and stay like the wait for like another, I think it was like 5 weeks. And I was just like, oh, can I just like let her go, Like I go to the grocery store and people would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's not cancer. It, and then I just stopped saying things, because I had the patches, it wasn't
Hmm.
even, and people thought I had cancer, and people were constantly feeling sorry for
Jeez.
me with my haircut. And so, and as I said, I can't shake it until it was done. So when I finally was done with the final shots and everything was done, every time I do, it's the same thing, whether I finish a tour with my band, a 3 months tour, or I finish a movie, there's like this depression phase after. It's like you live in this world, you don't worry about your bills, you don't worry about anything. When I work, I turn off my phone, I pretty much don't answer any emails, and I just live in this world, in this bubble. And then when you come back to life, you know, it's kind of depressing. All of a sudden you have to pay your bills and you have to return phone calls, and it's like it feels very overwhelming. And when you're upset, people tell you when to wake up, when you eat lunch, there's someone telling you what to do, there's AD, walking you everywhere. You don't have to think. You just stay in this bubble, in this fantasy bubble, and then it's back to real life. And all of a sudden you're on Instagram and you're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? You're seeing all this stuff. So it's always very to me, it's like I go through this whole depression phase, but now I know it.
Hmm.
And it takes like a little while to get back out there in the world, so to speak, and shake off the character. And I had that French accent for the longest time. I couldn't shake it, you know.
Were you still speaking the French accent afterwards?
Yeah. Yeah, I still had like I couldn't like shake it. I had to do something. What did I have to do? Where I had to play like a Russian, and they're like, you sound French. And I was like, God, I couldn't shake it. I just couldn't get her out of me. And I stayed like a toothpick forever. I was like, Nina, like, like, yeah, it's always hard for me to shake for some
Yeah,
reason.
I no,
Yeah.
I can definitely understand that. When you get to talk again about how passionate you are about characters, I can imagine how it is very hard for you to just you're not one of those people that could just kind of cut ties and move on to the next thing. It's a bit of a process.
Yeah, I admire people, as I said, Alan Leach, when, in Cold Meat. I mean, he's just such a pro. He's just like out and then he's in, out, but he cracks a joke and then he does the scene. I mean, I don't know. It's like my brain, I can't even, like, I don't even, I mean, I don't know, maybe because he's been doing it for so long. So, Downton
Hmm.
Abbey and out, but I still don't, I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. Yeah, I would love
It
to,
is
but it would be a lot less, I mean, it wouldn't be so painful. Yeah, but I don't know how to do it.
no, it's a learning curve. I mean, again, it's probably experience, and again, maybe it's just
I don't think I
natural way.
can. Yeah, that's just the
Uh,
way I do it. Like with everything, I dive in, I go all the way, all the
mhm.
way. Otherwise, yeah, what's the point?
Um,
Yeah,
so for the people listening, um, I'd like to ask a couple of questions a bit about you quickly, if that's okay.
yeah.
Um, so it doesn't have to be acting, it could be in life, it could be anyone. Who inspires you?
Ooh.
A little bit on the spot.
Yeah, no, no, I can tell you, but I've been obsessing for the last 5 years about David Goggins. He wrote a book, You Can't Hurt Me. And I was like, yes, like someone had a harder life than me. And then watching him overcome his demons, so to speak, and the way he uses his past as his superpowers. I mean, he just inspires me all the time. I read his books. I don't know how many times I read his second book. I love biographies. I love people like that, who are not victims. I'm allergic to victims because we all, we you know what I mean? There's just no excuse at this point. If you have internet, if you can
Mhm.
change your life. So he just inspires me like crazy to step it up and be a better version of myself, and be better and give more and go even further and push myself harder. And yeah, he's one of my big inspirations.
That is a great answer. What I like about him is, as you said, he breaks barriers, and he kind of is doing things that you're always told you shouldn't be able to do, and then he just does it anyway, and you're just like you realize these barriers that people put up for you just don't really exist. They only exist in your head. That's a great answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what would you say is your favorite part about working in this industry?
Um, that I get to I grow from all the projects that I do. I feel like I'm so lucky that I get to like living in Marie's shoes and get to feel a little bit what it's like and tell her story. And in Cold Meat, I mean, to live in her shoes and try to be her, even if it's only for the time being that we are, that I'm prepping and shooting. And I just grow so much from my characters. And then, I love to collaborate. I love to collaborate with like-minded people. The same with even being in a band, it's something about when it really clicks, when you're with talented people, like-minded people. I think that's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to sit and do things alone. We're supposed
Mm.
to come together and do things. And it's just the best feeling when you find someone who is where you're at, and then you get to create and you do something that has a meaning or telling a story, or you know it's just the best feeling.
I love that answer. Um, I guess one of my final two questions,
Okay.
if you could give people listening or watching this some advice, doesn't have to be about the industry, it could just be life advice. What would that advice be?
The biggest thing I would say in the last 5 years or so that I've lived my life by is, if it's not a hell yeah, then don't do it. It's got to be a hell yeah, whatever it is. If your friend is asking you to go out tonight and you're like, oh, I'm tired, just don't do it. Then it's a hell no. If it's not a hell yeah, it's a hell no. So it just keeps life simple for me. If I get something, I'm trying at this point in my life to say no more so I can make space for the things that I really want to do. So, and it's very scary, especially as an actor. You don't know when your next job is. And I
Mhm.
get these opportunities, and it's very scary to say no, but I really believe if I say no, I'll make space for the hell yeah. And I have some pretty exciting projects coming up, and it's because I've said no, so I've made room. So yeah, so if it's not a hell yeah, then just don't do it. Keep it simple.
Do you know what? That's gonna be my new motto now for at least the next year. I love that one. So Nina, obviously we talked about Cold Meat, which is coming up on the 17th of February. Is there any other projects that you're allowed to tell us that you have coming up?
Yes, that was just made an announcement that I did a movie with Aaron Eckhart, with Jesse V. Johnson, the same director who did Hell Hath No Fury. That is coming out in May, where I play this well, I don't want to say too much. Again, it's a very different character, like very, very, very different character. And Chief of Station is what the movie's called, and we shot it in Budapest. And Aaron Eckhart is he's where it's at. Yeah, he's a good actor. Yeah, he's great. He's fantastic. So and I love Jesse Johnson. So that one I have coming out in May. That is very exciting. And then I'll be shooting. I have a motorcycle movie that I'll start in a few months, and I have a couple of other things that I'll share about soon. But yeah, Chief of Station, I think that's a fun action one, that one with Aaron Eckhart.
Awesome. So if people, I take it when these movies are kind of being announced and sort of confirmed and released as you go on, they'll be announced on your social medias?
Yes, I'll definitely announce it all on social media. Yeah, I didn't announce it yet because I don't know where, and I was so
Yeah,
focused on Cool Meat that I'll announce it. I will announce it after
awesome.
Cold Meat. Yes.
So what I'll do is I'll link your social medias like your Instagram down in the top of the description so people can just click the link and jump straight to your Instagram. And obviously, as being part of one of the guests, anytime we kind of get caught that there's a release coming out for you, we'll also publicly share all your projects and your work coming out going forward.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Nina, it has been such a privilege and an honor to get to speak with you today. I really can't wait to see sort of where your career goes from here.
No, it's very exciting. I'm very excited about all these things that are coming out. Yeah, I think it's a good time right now for I think it took me a long time to get here, but I think I'm finally getting the parts that I always wanted. So it's very exciting time, and I hope they translate, and that people are excited about them as I am.